Well, hello, that's me again. Today is October 26, 2025. It is Sunday. It is Sunday morning in Seattle. For somebody, it's evening. And I know you all expect me to start talking about Burevestnik, which we knew was going to happen one way or another, and it did happen. But before we go, as you can see yourself, any kind of the basically terrorist attack on Russian citizens, which that's what primarily NATO does, is going to be met with what you can see yourself. It's absolute devastating strikes and on a territory of Ukraine, which, by the way, Sergei Lavrov, Minister of the Foreign Affairs, today stated clearly that, yeah, if once it's over, Russia will recognize the sovereignty of Ukraine, whatever is left of it, but there will be Ukraine, most likely. Russians do not want those people to really have on their basically balance. Russians are living too well to have other, whatever will be left. 15 million of the freeloaders, basically people who supported this regime, people who supported this war throughout the years, and they wanted all those, what Moskals, that's the, offensive name of people like me, for example, though I never lived in Moscow, I never was born in Moscow, but yeah, I'm Russian, so I'm, basically ready to be exterminated as, I don't know, cockroaches, as they said, the Colorado beetles. That's what they called Russians at some point of time, Colorads, because of the Colorado beetle, which looked like the St. George flag of Russia, this orange and black stripes, and there you go. So that's what Mr. Lavrov says. But again, anybody who reads news or follows whatever is going around, happening around us, can see yourself and hear yourself non-stop, which I'm having a developing blister on my tongue, stating the same thing which Vladimir Putin, Lavrov, Medvedev, what have you, anybody in Russian top political, circles speak about. Root causes. And root causes, we know what root causes are. And those are, well, basically political aims of the special military operation are unchanged, in the sense that they are merely growing, if you wish, in scope and scale, because now it's not just about denazification and demilitarization of Ukraine, which will, well, demilitarization proceeds apace, but it is also about the demilitarization and denazification of the combined West. How it is going to happen is the whole other story. I am not a Cassandra here. I do not have a crystal ball, but I can tell you, obviously, that it's better to do it in a political way, pushing the political processes along, giving them impetus that they develop, in a sense that, as many people ask me constantly, and the question which I am sick and tired, frankly, answering, will Russia take Odessa? Eventually, yes. But how it's gonna happen, I don't know. Can Russians go out and do it militarily? Absolutely. Will they? I don't know. But obviously, and we will touch upon this shortly, upon this whole situation, but why waste any life of Russian soldier when this could be accomplished down the road by political means, by the totally legitimate plebiscite, or if you wish, the referendum of people who will be living at that time in sort of the loose confederation of what Ukraine will become. And yeah, that's how you do it. That's how it happened with Crimea. It was always Russian. There's no doubt about it, and I know how a situation was developing there. But in terms of the four new territories which are now Russian Federation, obviously Lugansk, Donetsk, Zaporozhye, Kherson, they are part of Russia due to referendum of those people there. So there you go. There are two options. Maybe there will be third. I don't know. I am not aware of it, but that might be true. So when we'll take a look at the basically what is happening, as you can see yourself, that all those things about, good lord, what is happening on the front lines, we can go and take a look at the tally from yesterday. It's somewhat smaller, shorter, or lower, if you wish. It is still around 1,400 a day, which is happening pretty much every day. And here we come to the important part. Let's take a look first at this. Pokrovsk ultimatum. As you can see, people will come out and say, oh yeah, you know what, no scale. I agree. Listen, guys, if Mikhail Popov and Marat Khairulin didn't make the the maps, I am left basically hanging out in there in the wind and hanging in the wind, and so I have to go with what I have. And these are one of the maps which is obviously pretty much self-evident. I drew similar maps, but yeah, you can take a look at the closure of the Pokrovsk, Krasnoarmeysk and Mirnograd agglomeration. The ultimatum has been issued, which is standard procedure. Russians told whatever is left there, and we will talk about what is left there, to leave any way they want and any way they can, and if they don't leave by the 27th of October, which will be tomorrow, so they will be annihilated. So now, it's one of the agglomerations which is surrounded, and here we come to this issue. As you can see yourself, this is Vladimir Putin meeting, obviously, the chief of the general staff of Russian armed forces, Mr. Gerasimov, and all people who are big conscious from the general staff and commands. And here comes the very interesting conclusion, or rather, information coming from there. And here we start with this. If anybody ever doubted whatever is happening in the special military operation, all kinds of those proceedings around the diplomatic efforts, for example, by Mr. Dmitriev, who is a special envoy, but he is not a political figure. If anybody still have any illusions about it, that Mr. Dmitriev is somehow, you know what, former oligarch and does things, you know, speaking on his own behalf. No. Mr. Dmitriev cannot sneeze without actually sanction or basically being allowed to do so by top military political of Russia. And so Mr. Putin, on the meeting with Mr. Gerasimov and all people from general staff and commands, field commands of Russia, the Russian armed forces need to continue to carry out the tasks of the special military operation according to the plan of the general staff. There is nothing, I mean, it's black and white. You cannot really misinterpret it in any way. And anybody who begins to hit, you know, the panic button, and there are very many impressionable young people and even old ones who believe that whatever is stated diplomatically somehow affects the military outcome of the special military operation. No, it does not. This is what Mr. Putin says to his general staff yesterday, and well, actually it's today, but I mean, for us, it's already yesterday, and so this is what is going on. Simple as that. The special military operation continues until all root causes are of this, the whole catastrophe for the combined West are addressed. Period. This is from the mouth of the Supreme Commander of Russian Armed Forces and the President of Russian Federation. Anybody wants to interpret it in their own way? I don't know. Good luck with that. But, and here comes this other issue, which you saw yourself in the beginning. There are all kinds of the devastation. I mean, basically visited upon Kiev now, which is losing its, thermal power stations at alarming rate. So, you know, for the agricultural country, which Ukraine will be, and it's already turning into it and backward, but self-sustained, people will not go hungry. They will have option of the food products. They will be able to conduct their whatever the agricultural business, which is, by the way, respectable business, make no mistake, otherwise we would all go hungry. No, Ukraine will be allowed to keep this thing. And for example, adjacent industries such as repairing of the machine tractor or whatever the park which you need for toiling the land, and nothing wrong with this. I mean, make no mistake. And, you know, handling the slaughterhouses for things of this nature. Ukraine will not have industry. Simple as that. It will have only enough power generating plant to sustain the, I mean, you know, low level of basically standard of living, which is nowhere near, for example, that of the Russian. And so that's what is going to happen. And that's what Mr. Lavrov clearly stated, that Russia will recognize and recognizes the sovereignty of Ukraine. But there are all kinds of strings attached, as you might understand. And now we go to the a little bit more elaboration on the what is happening on this in special military operation, and how it all translates itself into those basically kill ratios. So it's just a reminder for you. And yeah, according to official Ukrainian Russian sources, if anybody wants to really get their idea about kill ratios, and I know it sounds horrible, make no mistake, I am not some kind of the bloodthirsty, dehumanizing, jerk sitting here and enjoying it. No, this shouldn't have never started. But you know what? I'm not Mr. Trump. If Mr. Trump would have been obviously the president at that time, well, we know that it would have never started, right? Now, I'm being facetious, of course. I mean, it was on the Trump administration where this whole war thing and the development of the Ukrainian military have been, went into the overdrive. And so, as you can see yourself by those numbers, yeah, we are looking at the somewhat, 1 to 30, about that give and take kill ratio, because obviously body exchanges ratios they have a very high correlation with the actually the kill ratio. And you have to understand that it's all about, like Russians say now, many Russians, in fact, probably majority of them say, well, if we wanted to fight to the last Ukrainian, we will accommodate. Simple as that. And that is why when we talk about the future of Ukraine, or for that matter, the future of the Europe, which bet all the house basically on all this military adventurism due to the extremely low professional level of the European NATO militaries. So there you go. So here it is. And so now we have the situation which we finally can come to, realization, but that, for example, yeah, it's oxymoron, I know, it's oxymoron. The State Department intelligence agency, lack of intelligence, there are no real professionals in State Department anymore who can even wrap their brains around, who understand whatever is happening with the special military operation, that the State Department intelligence agency dissented over Putin's appetite for peace. Well, there is an appetite for peace, but on certain conditions. And Russians make it, in the no uncertain terms, what it's going to be. And that's how it is going to be. And now whatever the circus they all present to us, all those, militarily, intelligence-wise, incompetent people who actually screwed it up, who presented this Chalabi moment to all those nincompoops on the Capitol Hill and in the White House by unleashing this bloody affair. Now they suddenly are desperate because many of them are now labeled war criminals. And so the State Department Internal Intelligence Agency cast doubt earlier this year on the notion that Russian President Vladimir Putin was prepared to negotiate an end to the war in Ukraine, dissenting from a more optimistic Central Intelligence Agency assessment of potential talks, according to several current and former officials. As I already stated, there are several current and former officials from the State Department, they are incompetent. Most of them are, and they do not understand basic math. They are the people who are run through the degree mills for the morons and retards, good old boys and girls in some organizations like Georgetown or what have you, other Ivy League institutions. And you have the ideologues who are morons, and many of them are morons with PhDs who go around, spread BS, and they do not understand. They're being now openly laughed at. And that brings us to this. Mr. Gerasimov, as we already spoke, he spoke about the situation with the Pokrovsk, and in Pokrovsk alone, he spoke about 31 battalion being surrounded. Obviously, we are not talking about the full-strength battalion because they sustained attrition at the incredible rate. But Mr. Gerasimov himself specifically stated in Pokrovsk alone, 5,500 of the Ukrainian troops are basically trapped, and there are other around 5,000 trapped in Kupiansk, and they will be killed if they do not surrender or run away and try to survive, which is very doubtful proposition. And so, as you can see yourself, Vladimir Putin visited one of the command posts of the joint group of forces. At the meeting, the head of the general staff of the Russian armed forces, Valery Gerasimov, reported to him on the successes at the front and the results of tests of unique Russian weapons. The main thing is in the material of, as you can see yourself, RIA News. And this is about all those maps we've been talking about. And here comes the, as you know, the traditional Ukrainian thing that, oh yeah, it doesn't matter, you know, Pokrovsk lost their strategic significance. Yeah, right. So it's Red Liman, Krasny Liman, so is Kupiansk, so everything. And I'm not going to be going now discussing those map movements, so to speak, and shaded territories where Russians are deep into Dnipropetrovsk and Kharkov area and continue to advance. It's just that Russians do not really need territories, really. I mean, look at Russia, the largest country by just gigantic margin, by far, I mean, in the world. So it is all about, well, here is the news, killing of people who could represent the threat, national security threat to Russia. And then that's where this comes in. And yeah, now we come to the Burevestnik, right? So Petrel missile. So Mr. Gerasimov reports about that on the 21st of October, the Burevestnik missile have been used actually at the, remember I showed you the launch of the one of the Sineva sea launch ballistic missiles by good old Tula Delta IV strategic missile submarine. This was actually to throw off many people in Pentagon of the basically the situation with the launch of Burevestnik and being used as the completed IOC, initial operational capability weapon. And as Gerasimov noted, the test of the Burevestnik took place on October 21. The missile covered 14,000 kilometers. This is not the limit. During the flight of the missile, all the specific vertical and horizontal maneuvers were performed and thereby demonstrated its high capabilities to bypass missile and air defense systems. Putin said that the key task for testing the Burevestnik has been achieved. There is a lot of work to be done to put it to combat duty. So what it means? If you remember, I spoke about it some time ago, and I was talking about, remember Caucasus 2020 exercises at which Russians at that time used also launched the 3M14M, the cruise missile of the Caliber family, but with the range of not 2,500 kilometers, but 4,500 kilometers. Now, here's the same thing. That means if anybody doesn't understand how Russians operate, that means it's indeed, as Supreme Commander Vladimir Putin stated, and as Gerasimov stated, it's done. The tests have been concluded. Their missile is ready to be deployed. Russians never use something which is not ready, not fully cooked and ready to go, such as, for example, Oreshnik, also, just because they test it. No, it's more than just the test. It means what? The weapon is ready. So the issue of the basically deploying it and where to deploy it, and here comes this all technological rumors which surround this missile. Let me explain. The missile spent in the air 15 hours. It's 14,000 kilometers, and this was specifically stated. It covered 14,000 kilometers on the nuclear-powered, system, the power plant. Whatever was flying other than that from there, we don't know. What we know, it's actually transonic and could be low supersonic weapon, with the energy plant, the propulsion being able to push it over the supersonic barrier. It is yes, as Vladimir Putin himself stated, and we were discussing it, what it is. Oh, people say it's vengeance, the vengeance of, the weapon of vengeance. Similar to what, let's say, Hitler was trying to do, vengeance weaponry, armaments like V1, V2, and things of this nature. No. You have to understand, and that's what Gerasimov stated, 14,000 kilometers is just not a limit at all, and that's what he clearly stated. What it means, that thing can be deployed any moment now, somewhere, just hanging around, and you will not be able to detect it. You will not, because it flies at its terrain following a missile. It has terrain avoidance. It has the elevation of flight between 100 and 25 meters elevation. So yeah, good luck trying to figure this thing out. And it can be there, yeah, as you already stated. It's not the limit. It can basically loiter there for maybe days even, And what it means, it's not vengeance or, the second strike, or what have you, or head-on strike weapon. No. That's the whole point. That's what Vladimir Putin stated, that we need to finish developing the concept of the use of this type of the weapon. It is prevention weapon, and the whole idea behind this weapon now is becoming very clear. In the what is called threatening period, Russia can launch those Burevestniks, and they will loiter around the territories which are of particular interest for Russian Federation. And they can be there for a long time. And if things are not developing properly, well, that's the answer for the change in the Russian nuclear doctrine. Preventive strike. So just wrap your brains around it, and there is nothing what could be done. There is no weapon system which can intercept it, detect it properly. Oh, well, they may try to detect it by some kind of the traces of the nuclear propulsion, but that's a whole other story. And again, you have to understand, you can launch this missile, as was the case. It was making laps around Russian Arctic and going, I don't know where it was going, it's all classified. It's basically the weapon which will decapitate you if you decide to do stupid things. This is what this is to explain to people who still believe that Russia can answer. Russia can answer, but Russia was always on the point that our nuclear doctrine is no first use. Yeah. So we'll have to wait and see, okay? But because the tactical parameters of this absolutely unique weapon, nobody has anything even close to it, and we have to understand that enormous scientific success also opens the road to the deep space. It opens us the road to the planets of the solar system, such as Mars and beyond. And that thing will be the principles basically enshrined, if you wish, in the propulsion plant of this type of the weapons. Also are in the foundation of the what is known as the, well, they're obviously different. I'm not specialist in the nuclear propulsion whatsoever of this type. I understand how the nuclear reactor on submarine works, but this one is a completely different story. Nobody knows the whole thing, and it's highly classified. And obviously there was a whole intelligence or counterintelligence operation to throw people off guard, and that was successful. And here we have Russia has this weapon now, and yeah. Latest news from the real estate in Patagonia, New Zealand, Australia, and Antarctic, that the prices dropped precipitously on all those bunkers and houses there, because yeah, what's the point? You're not gonna run away. It's for the globalists, all kind of people. As Roger Waters, we spoke about with him, and Randy Kredico, obviously, thanks to him for arranging this on Friday. He was worrying about that. Yeah, you have this Malthusian kind of fanatics of globalist type. Washington is filled with them, and neocons are part of that. And that they were thinking that yeah, they have to reduce the population. No. They will not reduce population, as I stated to Randy and stated to Roger that no, Russians will kill them. So yeah, they have no way to run. Obviously, Mr. Musk can sell the places on the his spaceships, which will bring them to Mars, while otherwise bring the part of population to Mars to leave those people which they think that they are so smart and so powerful. No, you are not powerful. You are as frail as we are, and you die from bullets and nuclear explosions, or for that matter, just regular conventional explosions. And that's what those people do not understand. They think they are immortal. They are not. Those people who need to know, they know who you are, they know where you are, they know where your bunkers are, and there is no escape if some of or many of those SOBs will decide to test the patience of Russia and try to do something about the fate of humanity. They will be actually eliminated. They will be exterminated. And yeah, in that case, the whole political class will be exterminated. And Burevestnik is just, the betrayal is just one of the other steps. And again, this is not it. This is not the end. As I already stated, we're looking at some weapons which are beyond the reach, for example, of the combined West technologically, such as obviously Poseidon type things. And again, don't fall for Chinese representing. Nothing wrong with Chinese per se. I admire their achievements and all that. But things like Poseidon, and especially their carriers, there's a whole other level of technical expertise, same as Burevestnik, and you can expect now emerging very soon, you can pretty much bet on that, the new air defense and anti-missile complexes, which will completely shift their military balance into the, well, basically oblivion for the combined West. And that is why Russians are very patient and say, okay, you have until 26 for the start new strategic arms limitations negotiations. If not, yeah, we're washing our hands and then just observe, you know, and that's what is happening right now. Meanwhile, obviously, Mr. Trump, yeah, you know, he says, Trump says he's not wasting my time on Putin meeting unless the deal is reached on Ukraine. So yeah, the word deal now has been completely discredited because obviously Mr. Trump doesn't know what deal is. He is totally owned by Israel now. It's very clear now, and the guy is absolutely not in control of anything. But unless, of course, he plays a very sophisticated game with Russians. But yeah, there are certainly some movements on part of the legislatures. For example, Mrs. Luna and Mr. Dmitriev, special envoy of Russia, the Russian president, they met. They spoke about something. There will be meeting between the legislators of Russian Duma and U.S. Congress. We'll see what comes out of it, and I'm pretty sure there will be people meeting on the American side who are those remaining congressmen and congresswomen who are decent people. So, and I hope so something will comes out of it. And before we go, here we have this mighty, the mouse which roared. Oh my God, look at this. You know, I don't know how to really judge or assess these things anymore. Look at this guy. British Defense Secretary reveals what London has prepared for Russia. I can tell you what London has prepared for Russia. Terrorism, killing civilians, you know, that's what they're good at. And so Russia is challenging us. It is testing us. It is watching us, Healy said, adding that his department is monitoring and hunting Russian submarines. So, okay, if Russia is watching you, I have news. Obviously, Mr. Healy, who is downright moron, and he is obviously one of those, you know what, inbred cretins from the British aristocracy, which is complete degeneracy at this stage, and there are no people of honor or something like that left there. But he doesn't understand the issue of the anti-submarine warfare because for his defense ministry and the Royal Navy, if this moron doesn't know what is going on, I can tell him only one submarine of the strategic variety, which is the Trafalgar class, goes on any kind of the combat patrol, carrying about 2 instead of 16 American-made Trident missiles, and it has only one fully operational astute class fast attack submarine. So if he knows what basically operational sweep is, which he doesn't, he will not even understand what operational sweep is, I have news for him. Russian Northern Fleet is larger than Royal Navy, and in terms of the nuclear submarines, let alone diesel submarines, Royal Navy doesn't even register. So I don't know how he wants to watch anything with a single astute multi-purpose submarine, which probably is good to sinking civilian ships. That's pretty much what it's good for. But I have news. Technologically, United Kingdom and Royal Navy are backwater, and if he thinks that he can basically track or detect and track something like the Yasin class submarines, I have a bridge to sell him. Well, they may have some contacts, but the problem is it is in the end, even on the just common sense grounds, you have to have quantity to do it. The only country which has quantity to do anything about it is the United States, which dwarfs in its submarine force and its anti-submarine warfare and patrol component anything that actually combined Europe has. But, you cannot explain the issue of scale to these people. And what can I say? But this is what I wanted to tell you guys today. And as always, those who like what I do, please subscribe to my channel. And those who can afford, please support me on Patreon or buy me a coffee and too. And that will be it for today, guys. I'll talk to you later. Have the nice rest of your weekend. Bye-bye.